Welcome, Shereen. It's been a pleasure to welcome you to this AIMA, the second National Shaping Young Minds program. I have known you, I think, for more than a decade. I deeply admire and respect you for being such an outstanding journalist, an outstanding host of very, very good television programs on CNBC. And you are an inspiration to many of the young minds. So I thank AIMA for getting you today to speak to us. Coincidentally, during the first National Shaping Young Minds program last year, I had an opportunity to moderate a session with Piyush Pandey, who I also hold in very high esteem. And in some way, I think, both your professions are kind of interconnected, though not the same. So it's a sheer coincidence that I'm talking to you today, and what a pleasure it is to reconnect with you. It's a pleasure to have you in today's session, and thanks for agreeing to share your story and wisdom with these very young, aspiring business leaders who will be the future leaders of tomorrow. During the past decade, and I think probably it's 2 decades now, you have become synonymous with CNBC TV18 channel. And as I said, you are one of the most charismatic news anchors and show hosts on Indian television. In media, actually, the messenger is the message. And in your case, both the audience and advertisers have really gravitated to your shows. Now, that is sheer power of talent, which we see in you. Shereen, you've come a long way since you started in journalism more than 2 decades back, as I said, and you've stayed always on top of the game, something that we want to learn from you as to how you've done it through sheer application and constant reinvention. I was just talking to Shereen just a while back before we went live, and she was telling us all the things that they had to reinvent, rediscover. And that's what I said, constant reinvention of yourself and in the field of journalism. You have developed expertise across a vast spectrum of news domains and issues, and you have persuaded, which is also an art in itself, some of the most powerful people in the world to appear on your shows. You have been anchoring CNBC's TV18's flagship show, Indian Business Hour, for more than a decade. And your long-running show, Young Turks, which I was fortunate to be, talking to you more than a decade back, continues to draw large audiences even till today. You have interviewed many exclusive members of the business royalty, outstanding leaders such as Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Satya Nadella, Richard Branson, Sheryl Sandberg, and Indra Nooyi. What a list this is, a power list, which you've been fortunate enough to talk to and get insights from them. You've also interviewed leading ministers and bureaucrats over the years. You have won accolades for your outstanding work, including our very own AIMA Managing India outstanding contribution to media earlier this year, which you so richly deserved. The World Economic Forum named you as a young global business leader, a young global leader, and you have been felicitated multiple times by the media industry peers of yours. During your career, the world has changed so much. And like many other businesses, media and journalism also is constantly changing. You have been a journalist in an era of radical shifts in media ownership, business models, news orientation, and information distribution technologies. The seniors of media have moved mostly online, and the newcomers know only digital. For the new generation, conventional reporting, research, and analysis are replaced with content generation and SEO optimization. Your generation is still holding fort for what is now called the old media, albeit all media now has digital avatars too. You are heading a news organization in times of disruptive trends, and our young audience would benefit from your understanding of the change and your prediction of the future of media. Today, Shereen, we want to hear from you about your life, your inspirational story, your journey to become a top-notch media professional, your achievements, your highs and lows, your failures, if any, and the learnings from them, which all have ultimately led you to these soaring heights. Our young audience would like to know how they could emulate you and achieve similar success in whichever industry they choose, including maybe media. This is an interactive session, friends, and we will take as many questions from the audience as we can, time permitting. With these few words, it's my great pleasure to invite Shereen to talk about her life and journey, and then we will pose questions to her after her few brief comments. Thank you and welcome, Shereen.
Srini, thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to join you here today and speak with you. And, as you pointed out, I think we did that interview more than 10 years ago. So it's great to be back, but this time with the role reversal of you putting the questions to me as opposed to the way around. And Rekha was saying this is a different avatar for me, and I always hate being put in this situation where I'm answering the questions and not asking them, because we're so used to that. But thank you to Rekha, to AIMA, and of course to you for giving me this opportunity, and for being very, very generous and kind with your introduction. Since you said that you'd like to understand how I started, let me start from the very beginning, because I think that will also in many ways explain the things that I hold dear to me and the things that I believe have helped me get to the position that I am in today. I want to acknowledge the fact that there is a lot of privilege attached to where I come from. Privilege, not in the sense of money or stature, but privilege from a perspective of being given the ability to make my choices and negotiate life on my own terms. I was very fortunate to grow up on an Air Force base. My father was a fighter pilot in the Indian Air Force, and it really, from our formative years, I was given an understanding of what equal opportunity meant. We grew up on a large Air Force base across different parts of the country, and sometimes even outside of the country. For instance, we did 2 years in Iraq, where my father was training the Iraqi Air Force pilots. But what that told me was that, we were all the same. We all grew up in pretty much the same environment. We had no concept of money. We had no concept of religion. It was a large extended family, and merit and hard work and diligence and consistency. Those are the things that drove us. And it's also very important to understand that, look, we had to pack our bags and move every year. And so change was always a constant. And I have grown accustomed to the idea of the fact that you cannot take anything for granted. Just when you got comfortable, just when you were made class monitor or prefect or class captain, you had to pick up your bags and move to the next destination and start all over again. And from the very formative years, I think that has given me a strong foundation in understanding the importance of being adaptable, understanding the importance of being flexible, and just accepting change. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to sort of cry about the fact that we have to move? No, you've got to get on with it. And that really has been part and parcel of how I've operated through life. You have to accept what is coming your way, and you have to make the best use of the opportunities that come your way. I was also very lucky and fortunate, as I pointed out, to be surrounded by very strong women. My mother, exceptionally driven, unconditionally supportive of the choices that I've made. In fact, she was the one who was insistent that, look, graduation is not enough. You've got to go out there and do your masters and so on and so forth. My grandmother, drove me around pretty much all her life, was very focused on education, not just for herself, but for everybody within the family as well. And just, strong, independent women around me. And so I didn't think that a woman didn't have agency. I didn't think that a woman didn't have choice. I was never brought up to believe that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. So I think that's where, as I said, I started by saying that privilege that I enjoyed, and I don't take that lightly, because I know that there are many, many, many women who have the ability, the potential to do so much, but they're constrained by the lack of support, by the lack of being able to make their independent choices and exercising their free will. So I think that environment really shaped me to take the fact that I had to be responsible for the choices that I make. I had to be accountable for the choices that I make, that I had to stand on my feet, that I had to be financially independent. This was not an option. I mean, it was never something that I was brought up to believe that, that's something that you may want to do. I was always conditioned to believe that this is something that I have to do. I have to be able to stand on my feet. And that is what led me through school, and that is what led me through college. And, one of my principles in life, and I think everyone asks me, how come you've done 22 years here at CNBC? And I just believe that you have to love what you do and you have to do what you love. And I think this is, Ray Bradbury, the author, who said that, and I truly firmly believe that. I've been very fortunate to ensure that my purpose and my passion have converged. There is a happy marriage between the two. My purpose was really being a communicator, and I wanted to do documentary filmmaking, and which is why I got into a master's program to do film and television. And along that way, I got into my first internship, which I did with Siddharth Basu and Veer Sangvi. And that is where my love for broadcast journalism started, because they gave me a show to work on, which Veer Sangvi was anchoring at that point in time. It was a current affairs program. It was the first current affairs program that I had an opportunity to work on. And I realized then that, I love the news, that I have a passion and a sense and a smell for the news. And that's what they told me. They said, you have a knack for this and maybe you should consider taking this forward. And so I gave up on the dreams of being a documentary filmmaker and took to broadcast journalism, and I haven't looked back since. So as I said, I think it's very, very important that you find your purpose, your passion, and you try and bring the two together and you get that convergence. The other thing that I hold very important, and I studied philosophy as well. So Seneca, the philosopher, said that luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity, and that is something that I truly believe in. I'll give you an example of when I started work at CNBC, and I came for an interview here. And I was asked if I wanted to work on a news channel that would be doing the news for the Indian diaspora. And I said, yeah, I was working on Hard Talk India with Karan Thapar for the BBC. And I said, yes, I enjoy politics, I enjoy the news, and this would be something that I could consider doing. And they said, but it's still 6 or 7 months away, so we'll give you a call back when we're closer to starting. And I said, fine. And I literally left the office and I was heading back to my office with Karan, when I got a call from the HR again saying, can you come back? I said, but I literally just left your office. And they said, well, Raghav Behel, who was the founder of Network 18 and CNBC, he would like to meet you. And I said, okay, so can you come back tomorrow morning? And I said, fine. And I came back the next day and I met Raghav, and he looked at me and he said, have you considered anchoring? And I was like, no, I'm a producer. I haven't even thought about anchoring, and let alone anchoring business news, because CNBC was the only thing at that point in time in the Network 18 space. And he said, I think that you could perhaps do it. And he said, I'm going to give you a couple of hours and then put you in the studio, and we're going to do this audition for you. And they gave me this topic of, economic reforms and, debating that. And they put 3 people in the studio with me who were, of course, internal colleagues. And they, and that was it. And that was my first opportunity of going on camera and doing this mock debate. And I guess I took that seriously, and I passed the test, so to speak, and he hired me on the day. So it was the very first time that I met him that he said, I think you should join us tomorrow and we can get started. And through the course of this journey, I firmly believe that you have to take what you do seriously. And for me, the route to excellence is daily improvement. And that is what I keep telling my team as well. It's not about being the best. It is about being better every day. I'm very, very firmly committed to the idea of being better every day. Is there something that you could have done differently that improves on the outcome versus the previous day? And I think that really, for me, has been one of the big motivations and one of the big driving pillars within for me personally and within the organization as well, as I drive things. And, you asked me, and I think I get asked this a lot, that how is it that you keep going? What gives you the passion or the motivation to keep doing this day after day? And, it takes me back to something that the yoga guru B.K.S. Iyengar said. He said, willpower is nothing but the willingness to do. And that really is what this is about. I still have the willingness to want to do this job. And I think if I am doing this job, I should be able to do it to the best of my ability, to the best of my potential. And hence, that to me is non-negotiable. So as long as I'm here, as long as I'm in this position, as long as I'm in this chair, I need to bring the best version of myself. And I think the day that I feel like I cannot do that any longer is the day that I will have to opt out to consider doing something else. And I think that is what each one of us have to sort of, understand and decide for ourselves. Over the years, my role has changed, and significantly in the last 15 years, it has changed as I've led this brilliant organization. I work with some of the most brilliant people across media in India, not just business media, but across the media space in India. And I think, for me, my leadership style, and I think, if I'm speaking with young executives who are at some point in time going to take on leadership roles, I think Simon Sinek said it really well. The role of the leader is not to come up with all the great ideas. The role of the leader is to create an environment in which great ideas can happen. And, when people ask me, what is my trip today? This is my trip. I want to create and facilitate an environment where people feel empowered, where people feel that there is a sense of purpose, that people feel that there is a joint ownership, people feel that they are equal custodians of this brand. And that is what is driving me today, is to create a space where people feel that they can bring their best versions to work and in fact give their ideas fruition and reality. And that, I think, has also changed the complexion of the programming at CNBC. For instance, I was telling you this before we started, through the course of the pandemic, everybody had to move to work from home. Me, along with a few of my colleagues, we said that we will continue to come into work because it was important for us to do that. Broadband is patchy. We didn't want the fact that the channel would suddenly, not be on air because everything was work from home. So a few of us were continuing to come into work through the course of the pandemic. And it was important for me to send out that message that I didn't expect somebody from my team to come into work while I sat at home. So I was coming into work every day. And I think that helped convince a few other people and their families that, look, if she's going into work, it's okay for us to be able to do that as well. And so I think it's important for leaders to lead by example as well. And what we also then did through the course of the pandemic was to look at ways to re-establish our purpose, to reinvigorate our purpose. There was a general feeling of everyone was feeling low, everyone was feeling purposeless, everyone was anxious. There was a deep anxiety about what was going to happen. And I said, we have to change this energy. We have to change this mood. And so we created something called the CNBC TV18 Clutter Breakers. And it was unheard of to actually launch a whole new brand of programming through the course of the pandemic, where things were anyway hard to just keep daily operations up and running. But I have to say, it energized the organization. It brought everyone together. It changed the energy and the mood within the organization. People felt that there was something to look forward to. There was something to do. There was something to achieve. So the anxiety and the pressure that people had felt on account of the pandemic, there was some distraction because you had this purpose that you were, focused on and trying to achieve. So I think that helped us not just change the energy within the newsroom and within the organization, but also connect with a whole new audience. As I pointed out, CNBC is a business news channel, but I've tried to expand the way that people look at business programming. And that's been a journey that we've been on for the last 10, 15 years now. Any transaction in life, education, healthcare, wherever you require the audience, the common citizen of this country to make an active decision, we want to be part of those active decisions. We want to be part of those active conversations, and we want to ensure that we can provide the actionable, credible information for people to make better choices. So it's not just about making better choices when it comes to your stock market portfolio, but can we help you make better career choices? Can we help you make choices that improve the outcomes as far as your education is concerned, lifestyle choices, health choices? So we've decided that business for us is not just about stock markets. Business for us is being able to provide credible, actionable information that people can use to improve their quality of life and improve the decision-making process across a whole bunch of sectors. So that me has been personally the big change that I think I drove at CNBC when I took over as managing editor. And I think, people often say that, organizations have to find ways of keeping their employees relevant. I also think that employees have to bring something back on the table. You have to come up with ideas on how you stay relevant within the organization and how you can ensure that the organization stays relevant as well. One of the other things that you spoke of, Srini, and you said that, the focus is on the messenger, but I've tried to stay very far away from that. For me, I'm very clear about the fact that we are basically the instrument of storytelling. We are the bridge, we are the conduit, we are not the story. The emphasis, the focus has never been on us as individuals, has never been on us as news personalities. Yes, you're on TV, people recognize you, so that is part of the process. There is some amount of that recognition that comes with it. But we've been very clear, and I've been very, very clear that I am not the story. I'm just the medium to carry the story forward. And I think that keeps me grounded. I think that has helped me hone my ability to listen. And I think that's very important. And I believe that that is something that we're fast losing, not just in the media space, but in general. We're losing the ability to listen to different opinions, to actually listen to someone without the prejudice and the assumptions that we make about them. And that to me is very, very important. So, people ask me, how do you prepare for an interview? And I'm very clear. I go in with tons of research, and I still do all of my research myself. And I'm very clear about doing that. I don't think there is any shortcut to success. And I don't believe that you can do anything without adequate preparation. And so I make the effort of doing that. But do I go in there saying, this is what I want from that interview, or this is my list of 20 questions and I must tick each one of them? No, because then you're not listening. And it is when you listen and you take that conversation forward organically, that's when the element of surprise happens. That's when the magic happens. And I think that to me is very important. So don't lose the ability to listen, whether it's in the workplace, it's in your relationships, it's at home. I think that is very, very important. And don't get anxious about the future. I think we spend far too much time agonizing about what will happen tomorrow and what will, happen 5 years from now. I think if you invest that energy and you invest your time and effort on the present, on thinking about how do I ensure that today is a better day? How do I ensure that today I can perform better or, do better for my friends and family or at work or whatever? I think that to me is important. Don't get obsessed with the future, but focus much more on the present and be present, for people around you. I think that to me is critical as well. And finally, I think we all have to make we have to prioritize what is important to us in life. And I'm very clear, as I said, I'm a student of philosophy. So Bertrand Russell is someone that I started reading, and that was actually what led me to my course at St. Stephen's College. And he said the most valuable things in life are not measured in monetary terms. The really important things are not houses and land and stocks and bond and automobiles and real estate, but friendships, trust, confidence, empathy, mercy, love, and faith. And I truly believe in that. I think for me, that is what drives me, to see that we've been able to do a story in an truthful, honest way. That drives me much more than to say, oh, we got that story first or so on and so forth. I think we need to ensure that we have empathy in the way that we deal with people. And I think the media has lost a lot of its empathy. I'm not a believer in the sort of, style of journalism where you put somebody on trial every night. I don't believe that we're the judge, jury, delivering verdict on people every day. I think it is our job to present the facts as we know them. It is our job to present the right information, but it is the job of the viewer to decide what they wish to take away from that. And I don't believe that it is right to impose our assumptions on people. So I'm very clear, I'm not a believer in this daily kangaroo court that we have running across many media channels at this point in time. But that really is the last 20 odd years of my journey here at CNBC and through life. And as I said, I think what continues to motivate me, what continues to drive me is just reinventing myself. I started with market programming on CNBC, and today I don't do the markets at all. In fact, I do a lot more of the non-market stuff. I started Turks 20 years ago. We just turned 20 this June, and the idea was to give a platform for startups in this country when nobody was talking about startups in this country. So I think the ability to think ahead, I think the ability to stay ahead of the curve, I think the ability to create something distinct which speaks for itself, to create communities around content. That's a big trip for me currently, to create conversation and communities around content. I think those are the things that drive me. Those are the things that motivate me today. And I hope that on the back of what you've heard this morning, that there is something of value and significance that you can take away.